Hi, how are you? This is Damaris Maria Grossman, Integrative Family Nurse Practitioner, and this is Mindfully Integrative Podcast. So today is a mindful chat with Dr. Lawrence Rosen. He calls himself, and I consider him the integrative pioneer in Integrative Pediatrician. He is the founder of the Whole Child Center. He's one of my mentors and just someone that I admire greatly, and I can't wait for you guys to learn more about him. He's an amazing individual and has been in the integrative health space for quite a while. So Dr. Rosen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's great to be here with you.
I'm so excited that you're here. And, first, tell us like something kind of a fun fact that people don't know about you. I mean, there's plenty more that you're going to go into, but, something you might want to share with the listeners.
My alternate path before I went to med school, my true path was going to be rock and roll.
Rock and roll. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. My husband is
I was
also
a 1980s rock and roll star for like 1 minute, and that was it. And then I realized that's not really a sustainable path, so off to med school.
But you still love music. It's still part of who you are, right?
Absolutely. I know for your husband, it's the same thing. It's like,
yes.
Any excuse to play guitar.
Any excuse. Yeah, no, I mean, that's part of your centering too, correct?
Oh, 100%. It is my original and always meditation.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
So obviously, this podcast is in the realm of integrative health, and I know that you're a pioneer in this area. I would say, tell us a little bit about that story of kind of you're one of the few, you started kind of in that realm and as a pediatrician in your health work and whole health thinking, and not everybody thinks like that. And I came to you even as you're one of my mentors, but also as a mom. I mean, you're our pediatrician, and it's another story that we can grow on. We can talk about after this, but please talk about, how you're, where you've come today.
It's a beautiful way to start, and I have such gratitude for you and for your family, and the ability to work with you and with families like that is honestly what has sustained me for all these years. When you use the word pioneer, to me, that's funny. I have so many mentors, who I think of as true pioneers. I feel so fortunate to be lumped in with them. I think sometimes it's just when you've been around a long time, that's what starts to happen. It's just like.
No, but I mean, in a good way though.
Absolutely.
It's one of.
Absolutely in a good way. I 100% am honor that. But I think back to when I first started exploring this area, somewhere in the late 1990s. Which is like 25 years ago now. I had no idea that there was this whole field of integrative health, or what we call whole health now. To me, my interest in medicine was really through wanting to help kids and families grow up healthy and do all the right things. But so much of my training up until that point was really about acute care medicine. It was ER focused, critical care focused. And so I came out.
Mine too. Not but as a
but
nurse.
I think for nurses and doctors,
that's all I knew.
Right. And we train in hospitals and we train in acute care settings. And for those of us that come out and want to practice in primary care settings, it was a real challenge. I didn't know anything about parenting or nutrition or, mind-body medicine, really. I had some interest in those areas, but so I had to learn on the job. And the teachers that I had at that time when I started were my son, who was just born.
Oh, and that's beautiful.
We joke about it now, he's 23, but at the time I was really learning on the job how to be a dad, how to be a parent, and how to be a pediatrician for all these families with young kids. How do we feed our kids? And things about child development and parenting. And so I got into that. The families that were coming into my practice were really saying to me, you have to wake up. You have to understand there are other ways of healing. It was the late 90s, early 2000s when we were seeing a surge of kids with food allergies, asthma, autism, ADHD, all of these things were really starting to rise or be noticed more and more.
And it became like a big thing. Like, but you're like, well, why is this
Yeah.
happening? Like right?
And yes, I was like, this is not, I didn't see this in training. I don't read about this in the books. I would ask older pediatricians and they would scratch their head and say, no, we didn't. You know, I thought back like in elementary school, I had one kid with a food allergy. You know, that was the one kid, you know. Now it's, you know, it's a huge 10%, 15% of some classrooms. So I looked at that, and then I had families coming in and saying, well, I changed her diet. I took her off gluten and her language, you know, took off, or her sleep was much better. And I thought, that can't be possible. How could that possibly happen, that, you know, something in food could do that? And I saw it happen over and over again. People started to tell me stories about acupuncture and chiropractic and all these other areas that I was taught was really out of bounds. Like, you don't go there. It's not proven. It's not scientifically proven.
Right. It's not proven, but you know, translation of evidence takes 10 years, if not more. Just because it's not evidence-based does not mean it doesn't work.
No. And think about what is evidence,
or really? There is evidence-based, but just because it's in the books doesn't mean you can't, it's not translated yet.
No,
you know,
I mean, if we ask about evidence on yoga, for example, you know, do you go back 5,000 years and look at the evidence from where it started? I mean, there's a lot of ways to look at evidence. So I was really, my eyes were open, my heart was open. I just followed the path along, and it took a while. It took 5-10 years exploring. There were no fellowships. There was no way to really get formal training. So I apprenticed myself to nutritionists, acupuncturists, chiropractors, pediatricians who'd been doing this work a long time, like Kathy Kemper, Tim Colbert, and others. I made myself a pest. I emailed them, I called them, I went to visit them, I flew across the country. It seems quaint now, but that was the model that people learned. You know, when you were learning to become a doctor or a nurse in the old days, you would shadow people. You know, that's really what you did. I shadowed
you even, you know, I was admired by what you were bringing to the pediatric community. And that was before I even had children. And I was like, oh, I have to learn some of this. This is so interesting. And it just wasn't there. It's not, I mean, and I was in that middle road, right? But I bet back then you probably are like trying to change something that's like broken. I mean, I don't say it's broken, but I mean, that's negative. I would say,
you know how it is. It's like different. when you find a path and you know it's the right path, like you can't go back. It's not like, you know, your eyes are open, right? And that's the way you go. So
I totally agree. And now that, you know, you have your place is called the Whole Child Center. You don't see, it's amazing, you know, and what you've provided for your patients. And you've also written a book, like two books, and you forwarded a number of books. So if you want to talk about that too, I'd love that.
Yeah. I mean, I think the best part of the story for me, and it didn't feel this way at the time, was how I got from that beginning to starting the Whole Child Center to where I am today. This journey over 25 years is a really personal journey, because I think with a lot of things, it has to really come from the heart and it has to be true to you. So when I realized I had to leave and start my own practice, I couldn't do what I wanted to do and sustain myself emotionally. I was going to burn out. I had to leave. You know, and when you leave the nest like that and you start something new, it's terrifying. And I was terrifying. I'm not a business person by nature. I had to make sure I had the right advisors. I was starting a business on my own at a time in 2008 when the economy was, you know, not great, but I just knew I had to do this and it was the right thing to do. And if I waited long enough, it would be okay. But at the same time, physically, by putting everything I had into that work, and just the challenges of parenting at that time and things that were going on with me, I really fell apart. I completely physically fell apart. My body broke down. I blew out my knee. I needed surgery. I was not eating well. I was not exercising. I was not practicing mindfulness practices, all the things I was teaching all of my families to do. And I had this big wake-up call that, you know, it really shook me. I didn't want to see it, but finally I came to, and what I really came to was it was yoga. You know, honestly, it was my yoga practice through Ben Wisch and through others, and getting involved in Cooler for Karma and other organizations, and really seeing the power for me personally in bringing that back And I had to acknowledge that I needed to start with myself before I could offer it out to other people. I mean,
100%.
right? It's a
And
classic lesson.
that's in itself is hard to say, like, I'm having, and as a doctor, I bet you that's hard because you're seeing patients and helping them. And now you have to help yourself. That in
I'm supposed to be the expert.
Right. And you still are the expert, but you're having to still take care of you.
That was the biggest challenge, was showing up to work every day and being the expert for the parents who were coming in, and feeling like a failure myself at that time, honestly.
But you weren't, but it's your journey of just trying to transition. And I can see that being like, that's a huge struggle in itself. Trying to provide the best care for these patients. And you also want to take the care of you,
So that all took a while, and I got through that, thank goodness. And then I got to a place where I am now, where I feel like I can really teach from the heart and really integrate. And I ended up doing a yoga teacher training program, and I rolled that into the practice. And right now, we really try to be for families a place where we help nurture and cultivate what we call whole health, which is health in mind, body, and spirit. We call it the whole child because it's really not just a disease treating model where it's, you have something wrong with you, here's your pill, let's fix that. Oops, something else pops up. It's really looking at the root cause, starting from the beginning with newborn babies, and helping build a platform for health that's very preventive, creative, nurturing, and we're in partnership when we do that. It's not me telling you what to do. Right?
Yes. I mean, I'm also a mom at your practice, and I will tell everyone wholeheartedly, I initially started with another pediatrician, right? And I just because they were close by, and I was like, okay, they say they're integrative. And then to find out, not all pediatricians are integrative, or they're coming up saying that they are, and they really didn't understand the path. And you can't make someone to think like the way we do. I don't know. We're in this little circle, and I can't, you understand, but whole health thinking and whole body approach is not something, it's a path that we choose to take, and I couldn't, the person that I had, nothing negative, they just weren't on the same mindset. And I transitioned gratefully to your practice, and my son was having the skin allergy because he had a severe dairy and soy sensitivity, rash and eczema. And, with your advice and your guidance so far, it's been amazing. Within 4 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks, couple months, he changed. And I'm just one case, right?
Yeah, but that's such a beautiful story, because it shows you the power when you're working with an infant, when you recognize there's a rash. Well, we could treat that topically, put stuff on the skin, right? But what was happening wasn't skin, it was coming up from an allergy,
a sensitivity, or something internal.
Right. The fact that what he was eating was creating the rash, that's not rocket science. We know that happens with foods, but if you don't think about health that way, and you don't think about root cause, and it's not, like you said, there are many wonderful doctors out there, it's not how we're trained. When we go into nursing school or we go into medical school, it's not the initial way we're trained. So you have to really look for it. There are more schools. I teach at the Hackensack Meridian School of Medicine now. A big piece of that program in the first year is teaching students about social determinants of health and a whole health model. That's an integrated part of their education.
That's amazing. Did you come up with the curriculum?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm lucky. They did this on their own, and they brought me into it as a faculty member. I just feel very lucky to be a part of it. What I'm trying to do is to help bring a mindfulness component into that curriculum to really contextualize that, so that for doctors, and the medical school has a relationship with the Seton Hall nursing program. So they're really meant to be in the same building when everybody goes back in person to learn together, both in preclinical and clinical years, about teamwork and collaboration as they learn through this model. So
that's amazing.
It's very exciting. Yeah.
That is really exciting. Cause the way, and it's not, we love our professions, right? It's just, we just want it just a little bit better, right? Or we're just improved. And you've already been doing that. And I know you've said a struggle of it, but was it very challenging listening to the negative of people saying, oh, what is that? Or what, like, how were you able to kind of overcome some of that? Those naysayers or those people that were like,
I've always looked at critique not as a negative thing. You know, I think if it's challenging, the times I found, and I guess I just was taught that by my parents in school, particularly when I went to MIT, the way we were trained there around problem solving and learning was really challenging. Like people would come at you and challenge every assumption you had. And so I always saw that as an opportunity. If I couldn't explain, then I needed to go back and figure out, why can't I explain what I'm doing? I need to understand that better. I need to go back and read or learn or talk to somebody or shift course. So those kinds of challenges, when other doctors would say to me, you know, why are you telling patients to do this diet or to try this herb? I always wanted to be informed, open-minded, and not feel like I have all the answers. You know,
right.
There's
You don't know, we
sometimes,
don't know.
right. And if anybody says to you, I know everything, well, then you should run the other way.
Oh
Right?
God. No, I mean, first off, you very brushed over. I went to MIT. So our listeners, you're not only a med school, you also went to MIT. Okay. That's not just, so you're, you know, you have a wealth of knowledge, but like you said, you may not know, but you know,
I bring
a
that
lot.
up. I bring that up. I'm not trying to be humble about it, but I bring that up because I think there's a way of thinking that if you're lucky enough to be put into positions where you're taught how to think and not just memorizing, I think that's a really important thing. I teach parents to trust their intuition. That's a really important thing. There's nowhere in medical school that I was told about intuition. That wasn't part of the learning.
Yeah.
But I know when I see parents and they have their first baby and it's in that newborn period and they're terrified and they don't know, they're worried they're going to break their baby or they're going to do something wrong.
Yeah.
I say, look, just, you've got a sense somewhere in you about right and wrong and what to do. And if that just doesn't feel right, check in with me. That's when you should call. That's when you should come in. And if things turn out to be fine, great. That's fine.
No, I 100%. I follow you. I came to you and check in with you with my baby and just in life, because I think you get it, you know, you understand. And in addition to like your work and just where kind of how you've progressed with your practice, has it been have you had any challenging patient, you don't have to go into details, but where you've had this, you know, like this way of thinking and people came to you and didn't realize it, that where you were, or did they know where, like, you know, my question is more of, did you have any challenging families that didn't understand how, like, you're presenting like treatment for them?
Oh, sure.
Or was it always pretty good?
No, I mean, I think I've gotten better at front loading the explanation when new patients are interested. So, and something, this is a really useful thing and something I teach students too. When I have a potentially new patient, somebody who's wants to consult with me or come to the practice, I ask them very explicitly, what is it you are looking for? What are you seeking? So that I can better understand if I can meet your needs or not. You know, we have people who call up and they're really, what they're looking for is a neurologist or a psychiatrist or an oncologist or something else. I'm none of those things, right? So I really need to understand, when you come to me, what is your goal? What is your expectation in your own words, right? That's a key thing. I didn't really get that in the beginning. I was like, I'm integrative. That's what this means, you know, and people would come, and some people, honestly, some people lived a mile away and they wanted a pediatrician and they just saw that we were in Oradell and they came by, and that's fine.
And that's okay. But then they got you. So that's awesome.
But there have been times where on both ends where people came who were really delving into experimental areas that I didn't feel grounded or comfortable in. Like, and I'm really interested in a lot of areas that don't have concrete proof. If I can explore that, it's safe. But some families make decisions that I feel cross a line that are dangerous. They don't think it is, and they think they're doing what's right for their baby or their kids. I'm not judging them, but what I'm saying is there's sometimes there are lines that get crossed that I have to deal with. And then other times, sometimes there are people that just are, you know, they believe in very boundary conventional medicine, and that's what they want to do. and I see their child struggling and I feel like something else might be useful. So I have to find ways to bring that up
Yeah.
at the right time. Sometimes it takes a while, but that's on both sides. That's where the relationship is really key.
No, that's so important to say. Like, I mean, relationships with these families. I love how you said how you had to learn a way of thinking. I mean, for me, I had to learn a different way of learning. You know, I had a learning disability when I was a kid, and I transitioned to figure out a different way of thinking. And my diet and my life, I had to figure out a way of, you know, and being that mindful and that intuition that you talk about. A lot of people don't have that. And it's, do you have some tips, or you're saying have to intuition? I think that's a big tip for the average person, just to kind of step into themselves and have like a mindful way. Do you have a person in your career, like you said, that has inspired you in this journey?
So many.
Okay.
I have this flood of like images that come in my, from my grandfather, my dad's
Oh.
dad, who had nothing to do with medicine. I'm the first doctor in my family. There were no doctors, but he just had a way of looking at the world that was about curiosity, all the way through my parents, my wife, my kids.
Yeah.
Honestly, the most inspiring, I've had amazing mentors. I mentioned Kathy Kemper as one, who was really the first integrative pediatrician that I think of. But the greatest mentors and teachers to me have been the kids. I mean, I know that sounds
Oh,
corny,
yeah,
but
no, but I
it's
mean, do
really
they?
true.
Mhm.
I just try to stay open-minded and listen to them. And if you listen to them, they'll teach you everything you need to know.
That's so cool. Like, do they like, I mean, in general, like, you feel like you're still learning from them? Like, I mean, you've been
Oh,
in the
every
field for
day.
so long. Do you feel like you're still
Oh no.
learning?
I absolutely, there's not a
Yeah.
day that goes by where I don't learn something. I think if you cultivate a sense of beginner's mind, where every day is new, and like I walk into my office, I say a little prayer of gratitude that I get to come to work and do this work that I do. Before I go into every exam room, I stop, close my eyes, take a breath to reset before I go in. And I'm
Yeah.
just try to be present. I'm not perfect about it. There's definitely things that distract you. I just try to be present and aware. And if you do that, inevitably there are things that will come across your path that if you don't get defensive, if you don't, assume you know everything, you'll continue to grow and learn. And I think that for me, that's just a way to go through the world too.
That's so beautifully said, because I think that people let, their mind of distraction or other things, or we know everything, or what things you're present at that moment, you're meeting that patient or an individual right here, right now. And that can't always be easy in your line of work, working with kids, because they're impatient, and families too. And then also taking this other mindset. So one, I think that's beautiful perspective, and I appreciate that from you. And as um, on our last note, as we're finish up with the interview in this with our listeners, is there like something that you would like to, a mindful way that you want to bring, or tip to tell the listeners that you kind of bring with you every day, or something that you like to share?
Yeah, there is. I'm feeling kind of in this moment at the time, with everything going on in our world right now, to I guess just offer a loving kindness, brief meditation, something that I try to come to every single day. And I think I found in my life no better way to not only connect to myself, but to connect to other people, and to be able to have compassion and connect to every being in the world. So it's very simple, and it just goes like this. If you're
Yeah,
sitting, you can
let's
just,
take a minute.
yeah, just take a second, just ground your feet, allow your hands to rest. If you want to close your eyes, I'm not going to close my eyes because we're on video, but you can close your eyes, just come into your breath, just take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And you can even place your hand on your own heart if that helps. And the way that I was taught to do this goes something like this. We offer ourselves these wishes. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be safe, and may I live with ease. And we stay with that for a minute and just breathe and take that in. And then we offer the same wishes out to all beings everywhere. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be safe. And may you live with ease. And then we just take one more deep breath in and deep breath out, and on we go.
Oh, thank you so much. That was beautiful. I'm so grateful for the time that you've spent with us today, and just for just that moment, of breath and pause. Thank you for coming on the show. I'm greatly appreciative, and the listeners are grateful to that. So, I hope is there a way that we can touch with you and connect with you. I'm going to have all of your links in the show notes, but is there something upcoming that you'd like to share?
No, I don't. Coming up, I'm doing continuing work with the med students, and I am working with a group called the Whole Health Institute. So stay tuned. That's really on a national level, looking at how we bring these concepts into schools, into communities.
That's really big. That's nothing.
Public,
that's something.
The big vision, 50 years from now, is that we have some kind of national public wellness infrastructure. That is part.
See, you are the pioneer.
Well,
That's part of the
long
pioneering.
List of people. We're all a lot of us working on this. So stay tuned. But yeah, whatever you put in the notes will be great.
That's wonderful. I mean, I can't wait. So I will have that for all of the listeners and the those watching. So thank you so much again, Dr. Rosen, for your time. And I wanted to say, I hope you have a mindful, wonderful rest of your week. And to the listeners, thanks for joining in to Mindfully Integrative Podcast. And make sure that you find a mindful way each and every day. Namaste, and thanks again. Bye.